bet they thought they were being really clever when they titled this game Dandy. Reviewers would naturally gravitate to saying something like, "Oh, that game's just dandy." Well, I'm not falling for that trap. I don't even know if I'd call this game foppish. Since this is a Pony Canyon game, you could probably immediately guess that it's based on a computer game, and of course it was licensed by Activision as well. However, as far as I can tell, this is a wholly original game. There was an earlier computer game under the title of Dandy. It goes back to 1983, though I'm playing an enhanced remake here. And that Dandy was a cooperative, action-based dungeon crawler, extremely similar to Gauntlet. In fact, it's so similar to Gauntlet that Dandy's creator sued Atari over it, and Atari wound up settling out of court. The Famicom Disk System game Dandy is rather transparently based on Zelda. So it feels like this is one of those cases where Pony Canyon took an existing computer game and then made a whole new game for the Disk System. It's not the first time we've seen it, and it's actually not going to be the last. They did give this one a subtitle at least, Zoan no Fukatsu, or The Revival of Zoan. That would be the big villain that you're trying to defeat in the game. That sentence also happens to be the entire plot of the game. If there's one thing that Dandy is known for in Japan, and it really isn't known in general, it's that the game has some quirks. You'll encounter the first one as you're beginning the game, because you can start the game without entering a name for the save file. In fact, it's really easy to accidentally do that and not enter anything. And then the game begins with you at your house, talking to your father, who will offer to save your game immediately, and if you take him up on that, then you go back to the title screen. Though you might actually want to do that, because if you don't, then you set out from your house in the middle of the night. Saving the game, and then reloading from the title screen, is how you cause time to progress in Dandy. Once you're ready to leave home, you can walk out the front door, and then you're in the overworld, wandering from screen to screen. Hitting the A button will swing your sword, pressing B will fire arrows if you have any. The overworld map is 5 screens wide by 5 screens tall, so not exactly the largest map. The monsters on a given screen will always respawn when you enter, though their positions are randomized, and there's a lot of screens where the map is split, so you might have to go the long way around to reach part of that screen. This weird well that's just sitting out in the open is a source of damage. If you walk on it, you get hurt. That's the only thing that they do. There's just random squares in the middle of some map sections that hurt you. Fighting monsters in Dandy is a bit annoying because knockback doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll knock people back when they get hit, and then other times they'll just keep coming straight at you. And there is no knockback for you, so once those monsters reach you, and they are programmed to head straight to you, then you start taking continuous damage as they sit on you as you try to get enough distance so that your sword can hit them again. In dungeons, there's a constant quantity of monsters, so defeating one will make a new one spawn in somewhere on the screen. And while the game will do some flickering for sprite priority, if too many monsters are on a line, then they just vanish. They're still there and hurt you, they're just no longer visible. And since, as I mentioned, those monsters are programmed to walk straight at you, getting enough monsters in a line to make them vanish is actually kind of a common occurrence. When you defeat a monster, they could drop a crystal, which is used for money, or they might drop medicine, which will completely refill your health. You start with 5 hearts, and there's no way to increase the length of your health bar. You can purchase medicine, and that will refill your health once your life bar runs out. You can carry 2 bottles of medicine at a time, and you have to purchase them from shops in towns, though the shops are only open during daytime. So if you're running around at night, go save your game. Shops are also where you purchase arrows, and when you buy arrows, you get 255 of them. Based on the rate that I was going through them, I'd estimate that you'll only need to buy 2 packets of arrows to complete the whole game. I reached the halfway point in my hour of playing, and I still had about 50 arrows from my original purchase left. Defeating monsters also gets you experience points, and you'll eventually level up. Leveling up increases your defense, attack, as well as refills your health. Based on how things were going for me, it seemed like there really wasn't a need to grind, The effects of leveling up are relatively negligible compared to getting better equipment. The actual gameplay goal in Dandy is to collect 4 orbs, and those will let you access the final dungeon, and you'll also need to acquire weapons and armor so that you can survive your final confrontation with Zuon. You'll find treasure chests scattered throughout the game, sometimes in people's homes, sometimes in dungeons, and you find out what's in the chest by walking on top of it. That will make the item appear right next to the chest. If the chest contains medicine, then it doesn't appear unless you're injured. And it's possible for chests to contain more than one item, in which case you have to walk back and forth on it to keep making new items come out. There are other quirks in Dandy, like when you talk to this woman, she won't let you go unless you save your game, and you can exit her house by jumping out the window on the 2nd floor. There's also a town where if you enter it, you'll die just about instantly. Though death in Dandy is not really a setback, you just go back to your house keeping all of your money, experience, and items that you've earned. Unfortunately, I can't show you the most infamous thing in Dandy. There's a bug on the ending screen that became a bit of a meme, where rather than rescuing the princess, the hero can just walk off into the sky. And as I mentioned, that's really the only thing that Dandy is known for in Japan. The very few people who actually played it don't seem to be especially fond of it. Dandy is a game that I kind of wish I liked better. Just watching it on the screen, it looks like a relatively entertaining, albeit a bit simpler, Zelda clone. The frustrations really only show up when you're playing. Feeling how you move and fight, and dealing with all of the little headaches, makes playing Dandy much less than it seems. This is a game that could have been a pretty entertaining action-adventure title. Instead, I'd just much rather play one of the games that inspired it again.